Well, welcome to our Tuesday Everwise Podcast, everyone. Really happy that you're joining us today. We just want to say we got Tim and we also have Kosta here as per usual, but we got a couple of topics that we wanted to just kind of tackle in today. Things that we've called pain points, things that people are feeling out there and are expressing online. Sometimes it's to do around automation, sometimes it's just generalized around AI, where we're going. Sometimes it's just a hot take out there. So let's just dive into it. Costa, I know you got a couple of things that kind of keep ringing out to you regarding some of the pain points that we've seen. Why don't you throw out a topic that really kind of resonates with you that you want to discuss?
I think the first one I'm seeing is AI fatigue. Like, in a professional environment, at least the pains that I see people running into constantly are, hey, I've been told I have to use this. I've been using it. And that seems to be the metric by which a lot of businesses are going. Are you using it? It doesn't matter what you're using it for, just use it. And what ends up happening is they're not gaining any traction from it. So it ends up feeling like you're constantly using AI to do something that you feel like you could just do yourself faster, and it doesn't help. And just imagine that on repeat, where you keep hearing like, no, you should use it. No, AI is really smart, but you keep using it and you're like, man, it's just garbage. I could just do better. And so you don't use it. And it gets really tiring for people. So there's a couple of things. It's like the fatigue of using it, the outputs that AI gives them, which I think is just a general non-understanding of how to get the most from AI and what
But
you can
AI
actually get and what you can't.
outputs keep getting better and better and better. So what do you mean? Like now we have Fable 5 and we have Opus 5 that are spitting out things, which is these are the best things that are out there. So why do people keep feeling that this is fatiguing to them to the point that they're checking out and they're going back to previous habits that they've done for decades in some cases?
Well, in my experience, the people who are running into these problems are usually not using the tip of the top, newest line of AI models. They're usually using a sanctified model that their business has given them, you know, permission to use, and that one rarely gets updated.
Copilot.
It rarely gets updated as fast as the other models. So imagine like you're using an iPhone 4 and everyone else gets their iPhone 17 Pro Max and you're like trying to do the same things, right? And you can do some of the same things. You can call people, you can text people, you can go on the internet. But if you have to, take a 40 megapixel picture zoomed in 30 times, it's not going to happen on an iPhone 4. It's going to be really blurry and really garbage. But an iPhone 17 Pro Max is going to be able to do that no problem. So I think like it's like AI talking about AI, it's all in the same sphere. Like people using Fable 5 and they're talking about AI are talking to people who are using Copilot and using like Haiku and Claude or Think Fast and GPT, which is just going to give you garbage after garbage. And they're having the same conversation using the same words, but they're meaning way different things. Like they're not actually talking about the same things.
Yeah,
So
that's it's
can
definitely
Fable
going on.
5 can Fable 5 or Opus 5 still give you AI slop?
Yes. I think Fable 5, like the newer models, what they're getting better at is trying to understand what a jumbled up mess human beings are when they're trying to articulate something. And so they could take that jumbled up mess and understand it better. And so the models are getting better at understanding and outputting what you want, even if you can't articulate it. There's a fundamental piece that's missing though, and that's context around you, context around what you're trying to achieve. And that seems to be the main problem for people getting AI fatigue is the age old question of how do I wrap context around AI?
So is that the
So
key to avoiding
yeah,
fatigue?
and slop, both. That's it, I think.
I
That's like
think
the it
I
thing.
think it's interesting too because the people that I've talked to who are experiencing AI fatigue, this kind of my boss is telling me to use this and asking me how I've used it, and I've used it, but I'm not getting very good results, or I'm not faster at my job, or anything like that. When you talk about those people and how they're using it, it's usually on a case by case. it's like you're just forgetting everything you've ever learned and you're just starting fresh every single time you're doing something. It's a very, you know, inefficient way to use a tool. Like, just imagine if every time you started your car to drive, you like opened up the manual and you just started reading the first page and you're like, ah, interesting. This is what the model number is of the car. Like you don't have to do that. You have to build it. It's like a skill and a tool at the same time. Like, you have to build up on top of previous experiences and previous learnings and wins. And that's context. Like, that is the context of where you are and how you're using AI. And if you are not building that context, like you yourself are not saving prompts or understanding how to ask for certain things or understanding how to get to certain quality of outputs faster, then you are doing a disservice to yourself when you're using that tool. Like, you are not putting in the 50% that you need to get the full
That's a
value.
really good point, Tim. That's a really good point. The fact that your skills with AI matter too. Yeah. I like it. In there too is like the AI fatigue thing is that age old leadership. Like, this isn't just happening with AI. Leadership for ages, or I would say maybe leadership that's poor, has been pushing things on their team that maybe feeds their ego or makes them look good, or pushing something that they think would be valuable in a way that just shouts out like, hey, we have a metric here I can show that everybody's using AI, so that means I'm an amazing leader, versus what actually works for the team.
Mhm.
Building a structured learning path for the team that works to an output that they want. There's so many leadership faux pas that are going on, that have been going on for ages, that are happening in AI as well. That causes
I
fatigue for sure.
I am interested to hear probably Justin's opinion on this. How much of it, how much of the responsibility falls on the leader to teach and guide their reports on new technology skills and like new advancements in how we do work?
It's a good question. And it's funny because as we've been going through the pain points, I feel like Costa and I have a different stance on this one. The one thing that keeps kind of ringing out is Costa very much centers on it is your responsibility, essentially, to take the actions, versus mine is sometimes more of a you need to know what that first step is. And if you don't know what it is, then it just leads to procrastination and you never actually do take that first step. I I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think it's a leader's responsibility to educate people. They can show the way, they can reveal tools, they can coach in certain ways, but ultimately it is on the individual to have the responsibility to accept that. I think where the leader has the power is in how they deliver that. If you're coming at something and you're just trying to force beat a peg like a square into a round hole, it's not going to happen very well, right? And I think leaders are responsible to understand and know what pushes their people. Not necessarily that they're responsible for the motivation, but a good leader knows what motivates people, right?
Mhm.
And they know how to press those buttons to get people engaged into it. I also don't think that with AI, I don't think maybe this is a bit of a hot take, but I don't think everyone is really ready for AI. And I mean, they're not capable. They don't have the skill set. And I have said it before, I'll say it again. Just because you can use a website doesn't mean you can build a website. So when it comes to this question around AI fatigue, part of my question that I'm kind of wondering in the back of my head is it built because people generally don't know how to use the tool itself and they're being asked to do things that are just maybe a little bit too complex for them. The most simple avenue is if you think about water, how water flows is it flows through the easiest path, the weakest path. That's why rivers meander all over the place, right? Because it's how the sand actually broke, or the soil broke as the water was coming through. I find like humans are kind of like that too. It's we tend to follow the easiest path for us sometimes. And if the easiest path is not learning in this new technology and just sticking to what I know, then guess what I'm going to ride? I'm going to ride that river over here because it's comfortable and it's easy. So I'm going to stick over there. And I think when you have people who consistently are pushing this, like, no, you got to use this, no, you got to use this, no, this got to use this, and that's your mentality, then it exasperates the AI fatigue.
Mhm.
Yeah, good question. Do you mind if I add just something on top of that?
Please.
The only thing that I'd layer on there is I like the analogy of the river and the your leader knowing your motivations kind of get you. There's super important stuff. The thing that I would add on is understanding where somebody wants to go and making a space or path for them to get there. As a leader, it's on them, personal
Yeah.
responsibility wise, to do the things to get there. But I can't tell you how many times professionally I don't have somebody that understands my motivations. I don't have a clear path to get to where I want to go, even though I've articulated it multiple times. And at that point, there's no reason for me to stay there. You kind of outgrow the place that you're in if they're not giving you those things. And there has to be a clear carved path laid out for you to be able to achieve what you want to do or where you want to go. You have to fit in to that mission where you are, and that part's the leader's responsibility. And then once you have that, your responsibility is obviously do the things to get there. And a lot of that might be, you do just know the step that's right in front of you, and that's all you kind of know. And I don't think necessarily we fundamentally disagree, Justin. I just like it boils
No.
down to that first step and how we're viewing that first
Yep.
step. I don't think that life is uncontrollable, so very often you just know one step, and people want to know all of them. I need to know all 12 steps so that when I take my first step, I know the second, third, fourth, all the way through the
Yeah.
12th, and I get what I want out of it. And it just doesn't work that way. That expectation is wrong. You take one step, then the next step is revealed to you as you're walking.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ice cream analogy. If you have too many options of ice cream, you're just not, you're more likely to actually walk away than as opposed to if you have the simplistic, here's your 4 to 5 styles of ice cream. That's actually been proven through cognitive testing and stuff too. Too many options.
I think you're right, because to do Costa's, like, for his kind of explanation of this, to take a step when you don't know steps 2 through 12, you have to be okay with that step being wrong. And that's a tough thing. That's not the path of least resistance, right? Like, making the wrong step, like walking in the wrong direction, is not the path of the least resistance, right? Like, you need to know exactly where you're going for the path of least resistance, right? If you're blind, you're not going to just randomly walk in a direction and like be very confident that you're going in the right direction. And that's kind of his point, is that because you can't see that far ahead, you're probably more likely to take steps towards things that are many less decisions away from you, like maybe one or two, where you know for a fact that this is going to happen after these two decisions. So I'm going to take that decision because it's safe. I know that I'm going to get there. And it's way harder to make that step when there's like 40 steps following it and you don't know any of them. You don't know how they're going to line up. You don't know how hard they're going to be, or if you're going to go the wrong direction and have to double back and go a different direction.
So right there, you're talking about testing a wrong assumption, and it sounds to me that there's an affinity for people to avoid testing a wrong assumption,
Yeah.
that they'd rather stick to something that they think is going to work.
I think from my own personal experience, I think I don't think I'd call myself a perfectionist, but I'd call myself whatever it is where you really don't want to take a wrong step. Like, you really want all of the effort you put into something to count. And it does, even if you take the wrong step, if you have the right mindset, because you can switch that from, like, instead of counting, meaning gets me one step closer to the thing I'm trying to achieve, it gets me one step closer to understanding the thing that I need to understand. It's just like you put it on yourself instead of like an external outcome. And even if you make a wrong step or challenge an assumption or make a mistake, you can still use that to get to where you need to go, unless you're thinking about it as a failure and it was a waste of time. And I cannot count how many times I've had a conversation with someone where they're talking about a failure or mistake they made as a waste of time, it provided no value to their life.
Mhm.
And it's crazy to me because it's so in, like, kind of in line with how I think now, is that if I make a mistake, it gets me just as close as if I made the right move. Like, and sometimes it actually gets me closer because I know more now. I know where I need to go and I know what not to do. And if you just randomly walk in the right direction, you don't actually know which way you're not supposed to go, right? You just found one of the variables.
I want to ask Costa that question because testing a wrong assumption to me about what's broken actually still teaches you something, right?
Yeah.
You cross that one thing off the list, whether it's, you give yourself a grade or not, you've still learned something. Is it better to know all of the wrong answers rather than just the one right answer?
Yes. Yes, but I don't even like the words that you're using. I would
So
say
sorry.
that these, yeah, back off, Justin. No, what I mean is I think words matter because the
Yeah.
words that we're actually using to discuss this shape or mold the frame that we're sitting in, the box that we're sitting in when we talk about this. And these words like mistakes or wrong 100% come from the school system. It's how we're educated and it's programmed into us. But it's not wrong, it's not a mistake. It is discovery. It is adventure that you're going on to discover or uncover the truth. And we've lost it because we've got put into this box by the school system. That is the adventure, and it's never ending. It will never stop. You could live 1,000 years, and that adventure would keep going, and you just get closer and closer to the truth. What a cool adventure or design, and we look at it totally wrong. We're like, I spent so many decades just peeling that layer of that onion, like decades of peeling the crap or the box that I was put in by school to like think that way. And you're right. You think that you're wasting time. Like Tim's absolutely right. You think you're wasting time. You think it's because of the box that you're put in. And then you don't embark on the greatest adventure of all time, which is getting closer and closer to the truth. That adventure of discovery, hopping on that ship and exploring new uncharted territories. That's crazy to me. So like it's just the framer box that we're sitting in. I have a disdain for it.
There is let me flesh this one out. There's a saying that's very common, and you would both know this one, but it gets quoted all the time. But I'm curious about how we would act on it. And the saying is, you learn more from failure than you ever will from winning. A lots of people, when they hear that, they do exactly what you guys just did. You shake your head. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yet, what we're actually talking about right here sounds like the majority of people don't apply that or they don't embrace it. They know it in principle, but they don't know it in practice. How do you change your mindset to not just have that as a principle that you know, but an action that you actually practice out?
I just want to provide some context on this too, and it's before we answer that question, because you're absolutely right that there is a difference between like understanding something in principle and actually acting out the actions that prove that you understand that thing. And I think if anyone listening can think about a situation in which there was a small mistake that they caused that had an impact on other people, but they didn't know it was from them, right? Did you tell them, or did you own up to it, or did you hope that just it would go away and everyone wouldn't notice it and kind of, and it's just a small, like, even it could be a really really small thing that doesn't have that much impact on everyone's day or whatever, but like how you handled that in your head, right? This is kind of what we're talking about here, where when you're when you're making those small decisions, that's kind of leading up to bigger decisions of accountability and how you emotionally react to things happening around you and to you. And this is one of those situations in which I think it's an emotional reaction that you need to change or adjust, right? It's if you have something coming to you and you've made a mistake, and not just yourself, but like it actually affected the people around you or the people you work with or something, right? You owning up to that and learning from it is a difficult thing because your brain wants you not to be at fault for it. Like your brain wants to think that you're a good person and you're a good worker and you're good at your job and all this stuff. And if that thing is true, then you have this like shadow of a doubt over all of these things that you want to be true. And your brain doesn't want that. It doesn't want you to not think that you're good at your job or to not think that you're a good worker or anything like that. So it is kind of like it's this like weird thing that happens that you need to actually get like in front of that and stop. It's like how a lot of people deal with like anger management is like getting in front of the feeling before it overtakes, like before it goes to the rest of your body. Costa, what do you think?
I definitely agree with you. I'm just thinking of like practically what I actually do. And as a leader, it's 99% shifting people out of the emotional frame
Yeah.
or like the box that they've put themselves in, is just like offering a different way that might work out better for them.
I think what I've done in the past, like practically speaking, is exactly that. Like there's two sides to your brain, and one's very emotional, one's very like details oriented and factually, and it's something I do. I learned this from someone who worked under me who had anxiety and panic attacks, and one way that they dealt with it was they went to a new room to get rid of the association of where their panic attack started to like a new room, and they started just describing the room like this room has white walls and it's about 10 feet wide and there's tiles up on the ceiling and the lights are kind of orange, and it's the way that like it just activates that other part of your brain, because when you're having a panic attack, like it's the emotional side of your brain just taking over completely and not letting any logical thought come in, so you can't regulate your thoughts. And
Mm.
something I don't think it's exactly the same. I don't want to like devalue panic attacks or like anything like that, but it's more so just like that kind of thing. What I've done in the past, I've used that as kind of like a shift all language away from like you made a mistake or your failure to like what it was, like just the thing that happened, or just like the facts, or just the specifics of what that thing was, and try to kind of like separate that person's involvement in an emotional capacity to really focus on the things. And that to me is like another path, right? Like we can focus on the actual thing. We don't have to tie you being talented in with this thing that didn't work, right? It's more so that they're two separate things, and I've given you this other path to kind of like activate this part of your brain that has no problem being told that it was wrong, or that this new piece of information is available to us, right?
It's harder for me to do that for myself than it is for other people.
Hmm. I would agree on that 100%. It's easy to tell someone like what's that, you point a finger and there's three fingers pointed back. Like it's really easy to point other people's flaws out and tell them how they should live their lives. It's very hard for you to do the same thing for yourself.
Interesting. Do you think you need somebody externally, like
I think it
telling?
helps. I
It
I
helps
think
for
it
sure.
I think it helps. I don't think you need it. I think you can be that external, like you can separate a little part of like how you think about things and how you're analyzing yourself. I know there's tactics in which when you're doing that kind of thought, like when you're trying to change how you're thinking, right, is to like tell or mention yourself in the third person, like to try and separate the voice, right, like from your actions, to try and create that kind of like trick for your brain that it is like an external person talking to you, in order for you to separate some of those like thoughts or feelings or connections in your brain that are so closely attached to like who you are as a person, which is whenever you have something really closely attached to who you are as a person, it's like your brain has this very like Neanderthal like defense mechanism built in, like I don't want this to be wrong because it's very close to who I am,
You know, you
in my
said
experience.
something really interesting to me where you were saying separate the thing from from the emotions that you might
Yeah.
feel from it. And I definitely, it definitely works for me in the way that when when I'm learning something, it is absolutely emotional blockers that are maybe stopping me
Mhm.
from achieving the outcome that I want to achieve or the aim. The to learn something, if I just look at the step that I'm working on and the action items that I have to take, and then analyzing the result, like it's just the thing. Like I'm going to try these steps, and then I'm going to see a result, and then I'm going to see what I can do to make that result better or closer to what I want by changing what things. And when it becomes a logical thing out here that I'm just working on and it's separated from me and how I feel about myself, things move at an incredible rate.
Mhm. I think that's a really good strategy. Justin, what do you think about all this?
I thought your question was good too, Justin, and I can't
I
remember for
just
the
totally
life of me what it
forgot
was.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because my original question was the phrasing is you learn more from failure than you ever
Yeah.
will from winning, and so many people agree with that, right? Like you guys did when I even stated it. You're like, yeah.
hmm
Yet so many of us don't actually put it into practice. So what does that look in your mind as far as practicing that action out? Instead of just agreeing with the principle, how do you show the practicum of it?
Well, just in the example that I was talking about, let's say I've done like the 5 action items and I've gotten the result that I wanted. I didn't learn anything. I thought that these action items would get this result, and they did. I know it, but I didn't learn. And that's a distinction between like trying 5 things and getting a failure or like an outcome that's not quite what I wanted. Then okay, these ones don't work. Let me try something new. So the actual learning practically happens when you think you know what to do to get to build the thing that you want, but you don't actually, and then you get that
hmm
result, and it's called a failure, but really it's learning. Like
hmm
you can replace the word failure with learning and be
That's what I
100%
like.
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because you are still learning. You've just found a way not to do it,
You
not to
should be
achieve the
excited.
goal. Yeah, yeah.
But in
I think it's
school,
also like,
you got these X's, wrong, wrong, wrong on the test. Then you got to bring them home to your parents who are disappointed. It's
Yeah.
just a whole terrible experience of,
yeah.
sorry, what were you saying?
When I originally thought about this, when I was thinking about an engine analogy, right? And I love to dissect engines, pull them apart and rebuild them and stuff. And there's like, 4 key principles to an engine, right? It needs fuel, it needs compression, it needs oxygen, and it needs spark, right? That's for like a combustion engine, right?
hmm
And typically speaking, if you're working on an engine and it's not doing something, you can typically narrow it down to that.
To
One
those
of
four
those
things.
pieces, right? And it's like, oh, this is what now the complexity of vehicles nowadays is far greater than it was, 100 years ago, where there's so much electronics and everything that are in there and diodes and all this kind of crap. But the principle is still that you have to kind of narrow it down. And when I am dissecting a problem, we talk about this in our actual curriculum, right? Making a prediction. And typically, when I'm going in, I have a prediction that this is the problem, what's going on right
hmm
now. And then I start to work on it. And, I do my tinkering as I do and my fixing. And then I try to start the damn thing up and it doesn't work again. So my prediction is wrong in that case, right? Did I fail? No, I didn't because I learned all these other pieces, this and this and this and this step that I thought it was, or that came off of my prediction didn't actually give me the resolution that I was working towards, but it doesn't mean that it was a failure in what I learned. Because the key there is that I underline, still learned, right? I just found ways to not accomplish the goal that I was trying to accomplish in the first place.
I just have something to add to one of Costa's previous. It came across my head when you were talking about that person grading the school and you get something wrong, you get a big X, right? This whole like built to know system where you are actively trying to fail in order to eventually reach this state where you can build something and have it last and have it be something and it's good, right? That's the payoff. Like that's the you've learned something. Like you can walk away from the time that you've spent with something that can't be taken away from you, and it's just the difference in how that is than like how we mark in the school system right now is every single kid starts with a 100% the first day of class and slowly gets chipped away until it goes down to whatever your final grade is going to be, right? Like every chance you have to hand something in or to write an essay or to write a quiz, every time you get something wrong, it is bad. Like it's 100% bad. There's no benefit to getting something wrong. Even if you learn that thing, that X, that little tick away from your 100% stays forever. Like you can never make that up. And I talk about this, or I talked about this to my team a lot, which is in grade 10 math, I got a 99.9 in the entire course. I made one mistake on the final exam, and that's it. And it was I read the question wrong. And this isn't me like flexing my math skills. I'm actually not that great. I was just in the easy math course in grade 10 and just smashed it. But the problem is, I can never go back and fix that. Even though I almost got a perfect grade, even though I made a mistake, like that tarnished my record in my head, right? Like it was like I can never go back and fix that,
Absolutely.
even though I had like arguably because it was like a mistake of like a wording, like I didn't read the words correctly. It wasn't even the math. Arguably, I had a 100% understanding of that math in that year. I can never go back and actually change that. So it's that like the way that we mark in schools is just negative. Like it's all it does is reinforce negativity around the like learning. There's no like walking away and being proud about it. And I know there's like you can think about it like a 99.9 is really good mark, right? Compared to most people's marks, but it's still this kind of like it's still a negative. You start with something and you're chipping away as you make mistakes rather than you start with nothing and you're building up until you have something of value. And I think that like subtraction versus addition way of learning, right? You just walk away with less negative feelings as you're building stuff up rather than just like starting with 100 and every tiny step you make outside of the perfect path, you get a big slap on the wrist and then you just feel bad about yourself and you're like, oh, I won't make that mistake again. But you've already made that mistake. It's already in the books. It's already a mark against you, right? Whereas you can make as many mistakes as you want when you're building something from the ground up because you're trying to walk away with the understanding of that thing. You're not trying to walk away with no mistakes. Just a thought I had while you were talking.
That was great. That was great. I
Yeah.
I I just feel I don't know. I don't know what I feel. Not good things towards a school system that works against how we're made, like how human beings are designed.
Mhm.
You can see just in this in the story that you were telling and the kind of thoughts that you had that that school system is counter to the way that humans are designed. And then also step by step, just creating somebody that's afraid to go out into their nature and be exploratory and learn, and instead creating, listen, it wins in what it was created to do, which is create, automaton factory worker slaves. That's what I think.
Which in that situation, you really do need to make no mistakes because if you do, someone could die. So
And we're
it
told
does
so
do
many
that.
things like you're so smart, so you need to like wrap up your intelligence into it. That happened to me, just absolutely devastating for me. Your livelihood depends on it. Oh, you want to go and have a family and have this kind of life to do it this way. All of these are lies, by the way. They're not true. And then we put our, it molds our thinking, and we're put into this box and we get out into the outside world, and we all have this feeling. We're all going through life having this feeling that this isn't the way that it's supposed to be, right? It grates on us just behind the scenes, and we're in the rat race and we're on this hamster wheel that we keep talking about, and we feel that way. We don't know what to do about it.
Leave the wheel. Get off the wheel.
Really rich conversation. Let me just end with this one. Hey, so if you made it this far, thanks for sitting with us. This is exactly what Everwise is all about. Real questions, real reactions, real discussions, no pretending that we know everything, because guess what? We don't. We're on a journey of learning as well. If this hits something for you though, come find us in our community. We have it over on school.com. Check it out. We'd love to have you a part of that community. We're doing this every single week. Every Tuesday, we're going to put this out. We also have a couple of other pieces on a Friday and other times during the week that we're releasing onto our YouTube channel. Come tell us what resonated. Make a comment, sub, like, the whole thing. But only do it if you really want. And what I would say is just a shameless piece around that is that's not a vanity number for us, why we want you to subscribe. It actually helps us to actually help you guys in the future as well, to know what you guys are feeling and what you want us to talk about. So we would be honored if you did sub to us and if you liked and if you shared us. But that's a selfless plug for us. Guys, it was a great conversation today. I really appreciate your time.